name is Orchid's Heart and I'm based in Birmingham in England. And I think today it is just knitting. Sometimes I share other things that I work on, sewing and things like that, but I think today is a pretty standard, straight up knitting podcast. So I've got quite a few finished objects, a couple of whips, and some future projects, I think. So we shall see how we get on time-wise. I was watching some clips back the other day on my phone and noticed that when I use the rear camera, it is actually much clear. Yeah, you know, the normal camera. It's much clearer than it is on the front-facing camera. So I am filming this and I have no idea what's going on or what you can see or anything like that. And it's now occurred to me that actually I think it only tends to film 30 minutes at a time. So I'm just going to grab my other phone and do like a timer so that I can keep track. Sorry, this is boring for you. I should have thought about this before I started. Okay, so I can keep a vague eye on the time. So there we go. What should I start with? I'm wearing my Tegna, don't know how you say it, tee, by Caitlin Hunter. I knit this in Viola fingering weight yarn. The colour was Slate. I bought the yarn in a D-stash because it is a Canadian yarn. I really love it. I love the subtle variegation. It's like not too variegated, and it's all quite warm greys, and I used just under 2 skeins to knit the second size, maybe. This is one of 2 Caitlin Hunter patterns I've knit. I had no problems knitting this one. If you watch my last video podcast where I shared about my lax sweater, I had a completely different experience and I probably won't be knitting any more Caitlin Hunter patterns. This was one of those like dream knit patterns that I've been wanting to knit since before I could knit. I'd seen lots of pictures of people wearing it because I think it was quite popular. I have to admit I don't wear it very often. I think because I don't really know what to wear it with on my bottom half. I'm wearing it with my jeans at the moment and I can't really find anything else to wear it with. Because of the silhouette and the way it kicks out, I don't really like wearing it with skirts. Maybe it'd look okay over a dress, I'm not sure, I just haven't really worked that out yet. But anyway, I do really like it. I think my sleeves might be a bit shorter than the pattern intended because I was worried about running out of yarn. But there we go. So my first finished object, I don't know how long I've been working on this for. Since February or March, I would say. And I haven't trimmed my ends. I have woven them in and I have blocked it, but I've not trimmed them. And it's my Lento sweater or pullover. Apologies, I don't know the name of the person that designed the pattern, but it is the Lentover. It's a pattern that was published in a, is it Liner? Don't know, always get thrown off because it's very similar to the French word for wool, laine. So, yeah. There we go. And I knit this in basically all present yarn. I was gifted 2 skeins of French yarn by a company called Boucle Laine. One was like an Angora base and the other one was an alpaca base, I think. And I didn't know what to knit with them, but the colours went together really well. It was, I don't know if you can really see, but one was a bit of a sort of a yellowy colour and the other one was a bit of a browny colour. And I bought some, with some birthday money, I bought some dye to order alpaca in a variegated colour called Eadaz by Nervus Fibre. And that variegated yarn picked up on all the different colours in those yarns, plus a lot more. And so I striped the main yarns in quite chunky stripes, carrying the lace weight alpaca throughout. Sorry, my phone just made a noise. No, it is still recording. sorry. I would love to have a fancy camera that had a thing you could turn around and see what you're doing. But the reality is, I can't afford it. Well, I'd rather spend the money on other things. More about that later. Because I have recently spent that amount of money, but on something else. But yeah, so initially when I started this, I used some dark green contrast for the neck, cuffs, and bottom band. Actually, I probably didn't get around to doing the cuffs. But I didn't really like the stark contrast. It was too intense colour-wise for me. So I ended up unpicking it, swapping it out, and using one of the main yarns. I ran out of the alpaca, so the last 2 rows and the bind off of the bottom rib is actually without alpaca, but it's not noticeable. It's at the bottom of the jumper. And so this is my first Lento. The reason why it took so long is because I was carrying the yarns through the stripes and I got really bored. I love striped things, striped socks, striped anything, but I actually don't really like the process of twisting the yarns to carry them. I'm also not very consistent with it. So I was doing that up the back, and I don't know if you can see, there is a bit of a place where it's not that great and you can kind of see the join. So it does look, there is like a noticeable line down the centre back when you're wearing it. But you know, it's handmade, it is what it is. It's better than weaving in all of those ends. And so it's less than 2 full skeins, because I think I did the smallest size or the second size. So it's less than 2 full skeins of 4-ply yarn, and then 2 50-gram skeins of alpaca. So it's less than 300 grams, and it's so light and so soft. I think it would be really good for travelling and things like that, because it just doesn't weigh anything. However, despite it very much being my colours, it's not that versatile in terms of, it's not really the brown that goes with very many of my clothes, like my nicer clothes. I think this is going to be something that I throw over jeans, that I throw over my pyjamas in the morning, feeling a bit cosy. Because it's not that time of year yet, I haven't really found the place for it in my wardrobe, but I think in the autumn it might be really useful. So yeah, the Lento is really good because it's quite a basic pattern. You don't need very much yarn to knit it, so it's quite good for like indie hand-dyed yarns and things like that. So that was a lovely knit made out of gift yarn. So the next finished object I have is another one that's taken me quite a long time. I had lots of whips on the needles, and I've kind of been working through trying to like clear some of those projects off. I think I've got 1 more, maybe 2 more, like really ongoing whips. One is a shawl, and then I've got a couple of pairs of socks. But talking of socks, so I just finished these. These are another gift yarn I was given. So I did a sort of box swap with a friend a couple of years ago. She's a good knitting friend, who I met on Instagram but have met in real life. We chat all the time, and we did like we gifted each other some yarn and then some like semi-related goodies like candles and things. And so she gave me this yarn. It was a set of 2 50-gram skeins, I think by the company Darling Ducklings or something like that. And it's a normal merino nylon blend. And one of these skeins was this kind of plain peachy colour. It's like a browny peachy colour, and then the other one was more variegated. And I, again, did the same thing as I did with the jumper, started out doing stripes and carrying the yarn, because I thought it would be really obvious, like a section of colour, like a stripe of colour, and then a stripe of neutral. But because both were quite variegated, it didn't really come out like that. But again, I've got the same thing where you can see where I've twisted the yarns and carried them. But again, you know, they're handmade. This cuff was some leftover merino cashmere nylon yarn that I bought a long time ago, and I just really liked how that colour played against these colours. I thought it just brought a bit of interest. So I probably have the same amount of yarn again, so I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I might hold it together and do some thicker socks. I might hold it together and then add a strand of mohair for some like gift knit socks, I don't know. My mother already has exclaimed that she hates them, so I won't be knitting any for her. I said to her, well, they're not for you, so that's okay. But I'm really looking forward to wearing these actually with my jeans and summer shoes. So now that I've shown you and I've taken some nice pictures, I will probably start wearing these. They seem to me like, I started knitting them in the spring because it seemed to me quite spring colours. But it's basically autumn now, so I could save them for next spring, but I'm not going to. So yeah, that was that. So thank you, knitting friend. And then my next finished object, sorry, this is like finished object parade. This is a huge project, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about it this time because I have actually made a whole separate video about it. But I wanted to show it to you in this one because I have just finished it and I'm very pleased. And I am going to put it on for you. But who knows how well you're going to see this. I'm going to try and do some of these up so you can see. It's very new, so everything's quite tight. Because I made the button loops tight on purpose because I thought they'd probably stretch out. Right, I'm not going to do them all up. So this is my Eastwind Jacket by Emily Foden. So the same person that actually dyed the yarn for this top. I love it. It's so soft. So I knit this in I knit this in 2 strands of Manchelopis, which is an unspun yarn that comes with 2 strands sort of together. So practically speaking, you probably only want to knit Manchelopis with 2 strands because trying to turn that into 2 balls of 1 strand would be a complete nightmare. Held with a strand of mohair, and then on the edges I used some leftover Plutolopi because this did not handle long tail cast-ons very well because it's much more delicate than Plutolopi is. Plutolopi I think must have a longer staple length, so it can handle a long tail cast-on. I really found that this did not. Manchelopis is really soft and really drapey, so this is a swatch I did without the mohair actually, and it's just really floppy. So this is my finished garment. I've made lots of like hacks and alterations and changes to the pattern, including I made quite a lot of changes to the neck because the neck in the pattern ends very much on the shoulders, and most people said that the weight of the garment like pulled it down and off the shoulders and it was falling off all the time. Another thing that people complained a lot about was that the button bands curled inwards because they're stockinette. So I made some changes there. I did my pockets differently to make them sturdier and stronger, albeit I did that by accident, but it worked out I think really well. I did my button loops differently. So I've made a lot of changes. They weren't conscious from the start. I kind of made up as I went along because it's made in pieces. I had kind of an idea of what I wanted it to look like, and that's what I did. So I knit the smallest size, and as you can see it is quite big on me. But I'm really pleased with it. I absolutely love it. I think it'll be really good for the autumn and winter. My partner said it looks like a granny coat, but I'm not going to take that on. My family are very supportive of my knitting, can't you tell? Normally they are actually. But I think maybe that was because I was wearing it over my pyjamas. And maybe that does look like a granny outfit, a knitted coat over pyjamas. Not that I think there's anything wrong with granny fashion. Probably it's something I channel quite a lot. So no, I think this will be brilliant. The only thing is obviously it is knitted, so the wind will go through it. So in windy situations on my bike, things like that, I don't think it'll be the best. But I'm thinking for those like autumn days, layering up the wool, maybe it would be okay in the wind if you had like multiple wool garments underneath. But we'll see. I'll do some practice, experimentation, and we'll see. So yeah. I knit in pieces because that's how you do it. Since January I've been working on this project. So the video I've made, which will probably come out maybe in the next couple of weeks because I want to do some footage of me actually wearing it in the woods or something. I recorded it in sections throughout the process, so the videos range I think from January-ish until, well, the bit I haven't done yet. So almost a year of knitting. With a big break in the middle, you know, it wouldn't have taken a year to knit if I'd really just worked on it, but because it was such a big project, I obviously got a bit bored at times. I realised also this whole time I think I've been looking at the clip, not the camera, so I'm sorry if my eye focus is slightly off. But yeah, so I'm all over the place today. I'm sorry. I'm really pleased. I've got these really deep cuffs. That is part of the pattern. I'm looking forward to wearing this by the fire, getting cozy with a hot cup of hot chocolate, etc. I think realistically speaking, even though this is a coat, I'm probably going to wear it a lot like a cardigan at home because our house is cold. And it'll be lovely. So it's August right now, and I could sit here and continue wearing this. I'm not too warm. And I have wool on underneath, albeit superwash wool, which isn't as warm. How is that possible? But I am going to take it off. And I'm going to check this is still filming. Which it is, so that's good. Highly unprofessional, I know, I'm sorry. So my last finished object is a small finished object. After the mammoth knit that was that coat, I felt a bit fried, to be honest. And as I'm about to share, I've got another big-ish project coming up, not that big, normal big, but you know, it's a gift, so I'll share that in a second. So before starting that, which will be my next cast on probably, I wanted to take on something a bit smaller. So this is the book that the last project I finished came from, and it's about winter. She's wearing the Eastwind coat in this picture here, and I wanted to knit the hat in the picture as well, so I have. So this is the short version of the Skyhill Hat. It has, I don't know if you can see, like this rib detail where you have one going in between the two when you fold it up. And it's quite clever the way that you do that. It's kind of, I think the hat probably is fully reversible. But I made a bit of a mistake around about here. So I like wearing it definitely this way round because you can kind of hide it when you roll it up. So I made this with, I've got the leftovers here. I made this with the leftover mohair from my Eastwind, which is like this purpley Rowan. I then had this Massam blend. Can I see what it says? It's so well shoved in there. Sorry. Oh, 100%. Oh, it's not. It's Welsh Mule. This is by Nelly and Eve, and it's naturally dyed, and it's kind of like this greyish purple colour. And so I held it with some mini skeins from John Arbon Fibre Co. I think it's a worsted weight, but like light worsted, and it's in like this neutral colour. I do know what it was. It was in their bargain bin, so it was scraps. Oh no, I think it's Viola DK, but I don't know what colour. So yeah, it was Viola DK in like a neutral colour. This purpley mohair, and then this Welsh Mule that's been naturally dyed. So the pattern actually calls for 2 DK yarns to be held together. I think this might actually be a 4-ply. So a DK, a 4-ply and a mohair work together really well. And you make like a chunky mulled hat. So in the book, there are 2 length options. Here's a good picture. So there's a tall version and a short version. So one fits a lot closer to the head and one has a bit of like space. I actually prefer my hats to be really close to my head. So that's the one that I knit. I haven't blocked it yet, so I'm hoping I do get a little bit more length or it will stretch out and grow a bit because it is garter. I think it probably will. And I think it goes really well with my coat, which I'm holding inside out. So I think that's quite a nice combination. It is the same mohair, but obviously this is a bit of a different colour. So I'm not normally a purple person, but I'm aware, and one of my whips is also quite purple, that I have very much a grungy purple vibe going on at the moment. One of my upcoming projects I'd like to do is I would like to do the, I've forgotten what it's called, the Storm Hood by Albiona McLaughlin. That's how you say her name. And it's like a detachable hood. And I would like to do that with, I wanted to do it with my leftover Manchelopis, but I'm not actually sure I've got enough because this is all I've got. So I don't know whether that would be enough to knit it or not. I feel like probably not. I don't know if I want to buy another plate or not. Maybe if I come across a shop that sells it, but I actually thought that the Storm Hood and that coat would be like a really good winter set. So I might end up buying another plate. We'll see. Because I don't think it would be the same if I striped it with another yarn or did like the neck in one colour and the hood in another. I think it would look a bit meh. So we'll see. But yes, that was a quick finished object. I really enjoyed knitting it. I find knitting rib really annoying, so I liked the fact that even though this had quite a lot of purling, you were doing the same stitch for much longer. Like it wasn't knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, or knit, knit, purl, purl, knit, knit, purl, purl. I find the flicking back and forth between the two really irritating. So I did quite enjoy knitting that, and because it's 2 DK, it is actually quite a quick knit. So I might knit more in the future, we'll see. And that's the end of my finished objects. The next thing is whips. And then I've got my next cast on to show you. So my whips are sock based at the moment. I cast on this naturally dyed sock the other week, and I'm on the heel flap at the moment. So this is all mini skeins by Woolly Mammoth Fibre Company, leftovers and scraps and things like that I've been collecting. However, the heel yarn is a wool. I don't know what wool, like a rustic wool, but it has got some nylon in it, but it is still naturally dyed. I bought at a yarn show. So there is a bit of nylon in the heel and there will be in the toes. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm just doing random stripes in different colours, very much inspired by a pair that she did. So that's the first one. So I'll pick that up again at some point, because at the moment I'm more putting my energy into finishing this pair of socks, which I might have shown you the first one before. But I'm also on the heel flap at the same point-ish on these John Arbon socks. So I've got one done already, not blocked. and I'm on the second one. And it's my partner's birthday this week, and we're going to go to the pub on Saturday and spend most of the day in the pub. So I'm hoping to get the heel flap, the turn, and the decreases done before then. It's Thursday today, so that should be possible. And then I can just knit round and round and round on the foot whilst we're at the pub. I reckon I can do most of the foot on an afternoon out at the pub. I guess it will depend at what point I've drank too much to be able to knit. But we'll see. So the colours I've used are Bibblebug, Mizzle, something, I never remember the name of that one, and Drumble. And this is very much inspired by a pair of socks that Laura Penrose knit a few years ago, only hers was zigzags, but she wasn't going to release the pattern, and I just really liked the colour combination, so I knit these. The chart is from a pattern called Ocean Drive by Pip and Pin, but hers are all over scallops. But I'm quite lazy. This is the only bit you're going to see out of my boots, so it's the only bit I've done. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to those being done. I think they'll be finished soon, so that's good. I have quite, sorry, the yarn is Exmoor Sock by John Arbon. I have quite a stash of Exmoor Sock. I really like it. It feels rustic, and it's a lot of local fibre, but has some nylon in, and the colours are all my kind of like, well, there are bright colours, but there's a lot of grungy, like autumny colours, so I really enjoy that. Yeah, and they feel like, they do feel woolly and rustic, but also kind of soft in that rustic way, if that means anything to you. I'm sure if you like that kind of yarn, you'll know what I mean. So yeah, looking forward to those being done. So the last thing I'm going to share, so this might be a bit of a shorter video than normal, which is probably a good thing, is my next project, which is actually a project I've knit before. So last autumn, or winter or whenever, I knit, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, I knit myself this. So this is the Maja cardigan. It's a colourwork Cardi. You steek it, and this one's knit mostly Manchelopis, but then some scraps of other things. So my mother-in-law really liked it and kind of gently asked would I knit her one, and I said yes, because actually I really enjoyed knitting it, because it's Aran weight. It's not actually the biggest project in the world, it's a lot more manageable than it looks. There's a lot of interesting colour works, it's quite addictive. She's probably the same circumference as me, but a bit taller. So the only modifications I would really need to make is knit these these sections a bit wider, a bit longer, sorry, not wider. And it will probably fit her too. So she tried this on, she likes the size of this one, just a bit longer. So yeah, she spent a long time mulling over colours, but what you'll see is quite funny, because she inadvertently pretty much chose the colours of this, but she didn't want it in Manchelopis because Manchelopis is quite scratchy and she's got quite delicate skin. So she picked another yarn I've used before, which I'm quite excited to knit colourwork with because I think it'll be perfect. So this is the pattern picture. Obviously it's a different colour scheme. Though it's very beautiful, I'm not really a blue person, so that colour scheme doesn't really speak to me at all. I actually copied someone else's colour combination on Ravelry. But this is the yarn that she picked. So she bought the yarn and sent it to me. I'm just knitting it up for her. So it's Gilliatt by Natura, and she has picked basically exactly the same colours that mine are in. She really liked the pop of colour. I'm not sure that she wants the green, but I have some green Gilliatt, so I might offer just to like put that in for her. And yeah, so I'm going to start knitting that next. Gilliatt is really springy if you've not used it before. Like it's got like a lot of stretch and bounce to it. I don't know what will happen if I bring this up close. Apologies if this is just really blurry. Like look at all that stretch. So I think it'll be perfect for colour work. So I'm really excited to cast that on. I think it will feel really lovely. And yeah, so that's my next big project. So that's why I was doing the hat in between, just to get a quick success in before starting this next one. And I definitely want it done by Christmas. I think that would be a really lovely thing to give her on Christmas Day. So yeah, that's all of my knitting at the moment. The thing I alluded to earlier about spending all the money, I'm really excited because in October we are going to America. We are going to visit sort of family again, and it also means I'm going to Rhinebeck. So it's probably the only time in my life I get to go. I don't know if big yarn festivals are something that necessarily normally appeal to me, but everyone says Rhinebeck is amazing, and it's about a 3-hour drive from where we're going to visit family in the same week that we're going. So I'm obviously just going to go because it's a really great opportunity, and it's not really out of our way, because we're going to do another road trip around another part of America than where we went last year. So I am really excited, but I've never been before, so if anybody has any Rhinebeck tips, please share. I don't know what to look out for. I have no idea who tends to sell there. I don't know. So yeah, let me know what you think. Share your thoughts about Rhinebeck with me. So yeah, I'm going to Rhinebeck. That's really exciting. I'm a bit nervous about it. But let me know if you're going. Yeah, it's cool. And let me know if you have any tips, because I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never been to a yarn festival that big. In fact, I don't think I've been to a yarn festival that's not my small local one. Because whenever yarn festivals here get announced, I think, oh god, I have enough yarn, I don't need to go. But this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity, so I'm going to do it. So yeah, let me know what you think. Anyway, I'm going to stop there because I'm just blabbering now. And hopefully I've shared some nice footage with you about what we've been getting up to. And let me know what you're working on at the moment. Are you knitting on some things for the upcoming season? Are you wrapping up projects that you've been working on over the last season or so? How's it been going for you? Let me know. And I'll talk to you soon. And if you're interested in my Eastwind jacket and all the modifications I made, then look out for that video in the next couple of weeks. Bye.